Let us continue with the first chapter, Introduction to Macroeconomics. We have been seeing the different types of economic systems. Basically, there are three types of economic system: the capitalism, the socialism, and the mixedism. Today, let us concentrate on mixedism. Mixedism or mixed economy. So, in a mixed economy system, both private and public sector coexist and work together towards economic development. In a mixed economy, you have the private sector as well as the public sector. Private sector is owned by individuals. Public sector is owned by the government. When I say public, it means it is owned by the government sector. So in a mixed economic system, both private and public sector coexist and work together towards economic development. So the main motive or the main goal is to achieve economic development. So to achieve this goal, both the private and the public sector, they work together. It is a combination of both capitalism and socialism. So mixedism is a combination of both the capitalism and socialism. It tends to eliminate the evils of both the capitalism and the socialism. So there are some evils in the capitalism, evils in the socialism. So mixedism aims to eliminate or aims to leave out the evils of socialism and capitalism. So in these economies, in a mixed economy, the resources are owned by the individuals and the government. All the resources are owned by either the government or individuals. Example for mixedism is India, England, and France. Best examples for mixedism or mixed economy is India, England, France, and you also have Brazil. So look at this picture here or the diagram here. We have the economic systems. So we have here communism. Then we have pure competition, or we have the pure planned economy or the pure free market economy. So what do you mean by communism? It is an economic system where the group owns the factors of production. All the factors of production are owned by a group of people. The group only represents the government. This is called communism. Next, we have socialism. But in our book, we have only three economic systems: the socialism, capitalism, and mixedism. So you have to know about communism also. So what do you mean by a pure planned economy? A pure planned economy has one person or group which controls everything. All the activity is controlled by one person or a group of people. What do you mean by pure free market economy? A purely capitalistic economy is called as a pure free market economy. If there is freedom, if there is total freedom, then it is called as the pure free market economy. So what do you mean by mixedism? In between these two, in between the pure planned economy and the pure free market economy, we have the mixed economy. That is, mixed economy is a combination of socialistic and capitalistic. We have taken the good of socialism and the good of capitalism, ignoring the evils. So we have North Korea. North Korea represents command economy. China and Venezuela also are command economies or socialistic economy. What do you mean by command or socialistic? Everything is owned by the government. France and Sweden are examples for mixed economy. France and Sweden are examples for mixed economy. We have the private sector and the public sector. It is combination of capitalism and socialism. United States and Japan are examples for capitalistic economy. So the red side shows communism. Everything is owned by the government. Blue side indicates pure competition. There is perfect freedom. இந்த ரெட் சைடு வந்து எல்லாமே கண்ட்ரோல்டு நடக்குது. யார் கண்ட்ரோல் பண்றா? கவர்மெண்ட். இங்க வந்து கம்ப்ளீட் ஃப்ரீடம் கொடுத்துடுறாங்க. இது ரெண்டுத்துக்கும் நடுவுல இருக்கிறது தான் என்னது மிக்சட் எக்கனாமி. ஸோ நார்த் கொரியா, சைனா, வெனிசுலாலாம் என்னது சோஷியலிஸ்டிக். இப்போ வந்து சோஷியலிஸ்டிக்னா வி ஹாவ் ஒன்லி சைனா. ஓகே, ரஷ்யா கூட இப்போ கிடையாது. வி ஹாவ் சைனா. நார்த் கொரியா இஸ் ஆல்சோ சோஷியலிஸ்டிக். மிக்சட் வந்து வி ஹாவ் இந்தியா, இங்கிலாந்து, பிரான்ஸ் அண்ட் ஸ்வீடன். யுனைடெட் ஸ்டேட்ஸ் அண்ட் ஜப்பான் represents pure competition or capitalist. Okay. So what are the features of mixedism? What are the features of mixedism? First, we have ownership of property and means of production. So the means of production and properties are owned by the private and public. So எல்லாம் ஓன் பண்றது யாரு? பிரைவேட்டும் இருக்காங்க, பப்ளிக்கும் இருக்காங்க. For example, I will give some examples for you to understand this better. If you take government school and sort of everything is owned by the government. Ewart School, Anita Methodist School, Downton Corrie, it is not owned by the government. It is owned by the private. Okay, they are all private schools. Adhe mari hospital, General Hospital, it is owned by the government. Aisha Hospital, Apollo Hospital, Malar Hospital, these are all private hospitals. Okay, so we have the public, that is the property owned by the government, as well as the property owned by individuals. Bus எடுத்துக்கிட்டாலும் Urban Travels, it is owned by a private person. So individual, அது வந்து private. Government PTC bus, அது வந்து என்னது government transport. So here we have the public sector as well as the private sector. So the means of production and properties are owned by both private and public. So public and private have the right to purchase, use or transfer their resources. Any individual can buy a property, he can use it, or he can also sell it, or he can transfer his property to someone else. Coexistence of public and private sector. Here in the mixed economy, both the private and the public sector coexist. Private industries undertake activities primarily for profit. Private people work for profit, whereas the public works for welfare. So coexistence of public and private sector. Private sector's main aim is to make profit, whereas the public sector firms are owned by the government with a view to maximize social welfare. Next point is economic planning. So here we have planning. In a mixed economy, we have planning. The planning is undertaken by the Central Planning Authority. So in India, who is the Central Planning Authority? Planning Commission is the Central Planning Authority in India. A group of people, they devise the plan. They give the plans to the people, the public as well as the private, and we have to follow it. So the Central Planning Authority prepares the economic plans. National plans are drawn by the government, and both the private and the public sector, they have to abide by it. So in general, all the sectors of the economy functions according to the objectives, priorities and targets laid down in the plan. So in the plan, what all priority is given, what all objective is given, and the target which has to be achieved, everything will be given in the plan. The plan is given by the Planning Commission. So the private sector and the public sector just have to follow the plan. Solutions to economic problems. So here the basic problems in any economy is what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, and how to distribute everything. So everything here is solved by price mechanism as well as state intervention. Price mechanism means market forces, demand, supply. The other thing is state also fixes the price. So all the economic problems are solved by the government through price mechanism, and the state also intervenes. What about freedom and control? Though private sector has the freedom to have their own resources, they have the right to produce goods and services, and they have the uh, freedom to distribute also. But the overall control is with the government. The overall control on all the economic activities rests with the government. The private and the public, they have the freedom. The private individuals, they have the freedom. But the ultimate control is with the government. So these are the features of mixedism. Features of mixed economy. You have 5 points. Ownership of property and means of production, coexistence of public and private sector, economic planning, solutions to economic problems, and freedom and control. Let's move on to merits of Mixedism. Again, you have 5 points. First is rapid economic growth. The economic growth is very fast. The best advantage of the mixed economy is that it promotes rapid economic growth. This is the foremost thing. The best quality of Mixedism is there is rapid economic growth. Then there is balanced economic growth. Mixedism promotes balanced growth of economy. That is, if there are three sectors, the primary sector, the industrial sector, tertiary sector, growth is seen in all the areas. It promotes growth in the agricultural sector, industrial sector, consumer goods, capital goods. It gives importance to rural areas and urban areas. Rural areas means villages. Urban areas are cities. So the economic growth is balanced. பாகுபாடு இல்லாம growth எல்லா இடத்துலயும் எல்லா செக்டார்லயும் growth இருக்கு, எல்லா ஏரியாஸ்லயும் growth இருக்கு. சிட்டி, வில்லேஜ், டவுன், பஞ்சாயத், there is growth. Proper utilization of resources. The resources in the mixed economy are utilized properly. The government controls most of the important activities directly and the private sector indirectly. The government controls everything. The government controls the government controls most of the important activities டைரக்டா கண்ட்ரோல் பண்றாங்க. பிரைவேட் செக்டரையும் என்ன பண்றாங்க, இன்டைரக்டா கண்ட்ரோல் பண்றதுனால there is proper utilization of resources. ரிசோர்சஸ் வந்து சரியா பயன்படுத்துறாங்க. Economic equality. The government uses progressive taxation here. What do you mean by progressive taxation? Tax is based on the taxpayer's ability. Higher tax from people who have higher income and lower rate of tax from people who earn very little, and below certain level of income no tax. Okay, this is only called as progressive taxation. So the government uses progressive rate of taxation for levying income tax to bring about economic equality. So it brings economic equality. Rich people turn நிறைய tax, poor people கம்மி tax வாங்குறாங்க. So there is economic equality. Special advantage to the society. What do you mean by that? The government safeguards the interest of the workers and the weaker section by giving them certain privileges. இப்போ நம்ம ஊர்ல பார்த்தா வீக்கர் சொசைட்டி ஆஃப் த பீப்புளுக்கு ஃப்ரீ எஜுகேஷன், அது ஃப்ரீயா ரேஷன்ல ஏதாவது பொருளை தரது. ஸோ ஸ்பெஷல் அட்வான்டேஜ் இஸ் கிவன் டு த வீக்கர் செக்ஷன் ஆஃப் த சொசைட்டி. மினிமம் வேஜஸ் கொடுக்குறாங்க. சில தொழில் செய்தால் இவ்வளோ குறைந்தபட்ச வேஜஸ் இவ்வளோ இருக்கணும். தெர் இஸ் ரேஷனிங், தெர் இஸ் ஃபேர் ப்ரைஸ் ஷாப்ஸ், ரேஷன் கடை இருக்குது. தென் மெனி சோஷியல் வெல்ஃபேர் ஸ்கீம்ஸ். இப்போ அம்மா உணவகம், முடியாதவங்க என்ன பண்ணலாம், அங்கே போய் கம்மி விலை கொடுத்து சாப்பிடலாம். ஸோ தீஸ் ஆர் த மெரிட்ஸ் ஆஃப் மிக்சடிசம். ராபிட் எக்கனாமிக் growth, balanced economic growth, proper utilization of resources, economic equality, special advantage to the society. So already we have seen the features, 5 important features. Merits of 5. Next, demerits of 5. Very easy to remember. If they ask you to write about mixedism, you can easily remember 5 features, 5 merits, 5 demerits. First one, lack of coordination. எவ்வளவுதான் கவர்மெண்ட் இன்டர்வீன் பண்ணாலும் இங்க பிரைவேட் செக்டரும் பப்ளிக் செக்டரும் இருக்கிறதுனால there will be lack of coordination. The greatest drawback of mixedism is lack of coordination between the public sector and the private sector. Both people work with divergent motives. The motive of the public sector is to give social welfare. Public government எதுக்கு வேலை செய்யுது? To give social welfare. Private motive is for making profit. Both are divergent, different motives. One person is talking about welfare, the other one is talking about profit motive. So as both work with divergent motives, it creates many coordination related problems. There will not be coordination between the public sector and the private sector. Next is competitive attitude. Competitive attitude. What do you mean by competitive attitude? It is expected that both the government and the private sector should work with a complementary spirit. There must be complementary. What do you mean by complementary? I have to help the public sector. The public sector has to help the private sector. There must be a complementary. நான் உனக்கு உதவி செய்யறேன், நீ எனக்கு உதவி செய். நான் இல்லாம உன்னால எதுவும் செய்ய முடியாது, நீ இல்லாம என்னால எதுவும் செய்ய முடியாது. But here the attitude becomes competitive instead of complementary. ஒருத்தருக்கு ஒருத்தர் உதவியா ஒருத்தருக்கு இணைந்து செய்யறதுக்கு பதிலா இங்க போட்டி மனப்பான்மை இருக்கு. So here both the private sector and the private sector are expected to work with a complementary spirit towards the welfare of the society. But in reality, there is only competitive attitude in all their activities. Next is inefficiency. Most of the public sector enterprises remain inefficient. ஒரு கவர்மெண்ட் இதுக்குள்ள போனீங்கன்னா பாத்தீங்கன்னா ரொம்ப இன்எஃபிஷியண்டா இருப்பாங்க. 9 மணிக்கு வந்து 5 மணிக்கு வேலை செய்யணும், அவ்வளவுதான். எவ்வளவு வேலை செய்யறது யாரும் அவங்களை கண்டுக்கிறது இல்ல. எவ்வளவு நேரம் பிரேக் எடுக்கிறாங்க யாரும் பாக்குறது இல்ல. Lethargy is seen there. Red tapeism, even to do small work. I've already explained this. Red tapeism. Many paperwork is required to do a simple job. ஒரு சின்ன வேலை செய்யறதுக்கு நிறைய ஃபார்ம்ஸ் ஃபில் பண்ணி நிறைய டைம் வேஸ்ட் பண்றது. There is no motivation. There is lack of motivation. So the next demerit is inefficiency. Lack of coordination, பார்த்தோம். Competitive attitude, inefficiency. Then fear of nationalization. Process of government taking control over a company or an industry is called nationalization. So the private sector always they have to work with a fear. When will the government take my industry? Will it take it today or tomorrow or day after? So there is a fear. That what do you mean by nationalization? Private assets, privately owned assets becoming public assets. Individuals own a business. Suddenly the government says it belongs to me. So there is fear of nationalization. In a mixed economy, the fear of nationalization discourages the private entrepreneurs in the business operations, widening inequality. Ownership of resources, laws of inheritance, and profit motive of the people widens the gap between the rich and the poor. We saw that there is, to a certain extent, equality because of progressive tax. But in certain areas, the inequality increases. பரம்பரை சொத்து ஒருத்தர் நிறைய சம்பாதிச்சு வச்சிருக்காங்க, நெக்ஸ்ட் அவங்க பரம்பரைக்கு போயிருது. அப்போ there is again inequality of income and wealth. So these are the demerits of mixedism. So you have a question at the back. Okay. Enumerate the features of mixed economy. Question number 32. Features of mixed economy. So you have to write all these 5 points. This is a 3-mark question. So you are expected to write all the 5 side headings and 1 sentence under each side heading. Okay. So this is question number 32. Enumerate features of mixed economy. Next, let us move on to the last part of economic systems. Comparison of different economic systems. We have already seen about capitalism, socialism, and mixedism. So here a comparison chart is given. This is a very important question. This is the answer for question number 38. Question number 38. Compare the feature among capitalism, socialism, and mixedism. It is not secularism, it is socialism. So you have to give the comparison of the different economic system. This is a very, very simple and easy question to study. 8 points you have. If you write all these 8 points, you will get 5 marks. So features are based panni. What are the difference? We have 8 features. Ownership of means of production. In capitalism, who owns all the property? Private people own. There is complete freedom. Socialism, everything is owned by the government. Mixedism, you have the private as well as the public. So ownership of means of production. In capitalism, it is privately owned. Socialism, it is owned by the public. Mixedism, private ownership and public ownership. Economic motive. What is the motive behind capitalism? It is profit. Capitalists work only for selfish motive, profit making. Socialism is its social welfare. Mixedism, you have the public sector, which helps in social welfare, and private, their motive is profit making. Public work for social welfare, private work with profit motive. Divergent motives பார்த்தோம் இல்லையா? பப்ளிக் வந்து சோஷியல் வெல்ஃபேர்க்காக ஒர்க் பண்றாங்க, பிரைவேட் வந்து ப்ராஃபிட்காக. Solution of central problems. இங்க who gives the solution? Here, free market system. You have the demand and the supply, which gives the solution for all the problems. Here we have the central planning system. Here we have central planning system as well as free market system. Market forces இருக்கு, government இருக்கு. Government role. இங்க வந்து internal regulations only. It is internal regulations. So the role of the government is very limited in capitalism. The role of the government is to protect the people. They take care of defense. Okay, it has to take care of the defense and the money supply. இவ்வளவுதான் அவங்களுடைய வேலை. மற்ற வேலை வந்து private people they do. Socialism, the government has complete involvement. Government only does everything. Mixedism, the government role is limited because the government aim is to give only the plans. The government will give the objective, they will give the plan, they will give the target, but the working has to be done by the private as well as the public. Income distribution. இங்க வந்து unequal இருக்கு. Capitalism, the rich become richer and the poor become poorer. Socialism, there is equality of wealth. Mixedism, there is less unequal. Equality கொஞ்சம் கம்மியா இருக்கு because we have the progressive tax. Nature of enterprise. Here we have everything is owned by private. Socialism, everything is owned by the government. Here we have the private sector as well as the public sector, the private and the state. Economic freedom. Capitalism, you have complete freedom. Individuals have complete freedom. Okay. Here, socialism, there is no freedom. The government decides everything and people have to work according to what the government says. Mixedism, the limited freedom. Okay. Major problem. Capitalism, you have inequality. Socialism, you see inefficiency. Whereas in mixedism, you have inequality as well as inefficiency. So the 38th question, comparison of the different economic system. For that, you have to give this answer. Okay. 38. Compare the features among capitalism, socialism, and mixedism. The answer is this. 37th question. Compare the features of capitalism and socialism. 38 நீங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் படிச்சிட்டீங்கன்னா 37 ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா இந்த ரெண்டு காலம் பண்ணா மட்டும் போதும். இந்த காலம் இது தேவையில்லை. 37க்கு I repeat 37. Compare the features of capitalism and socialism. இது ரெண்டு மட்டும்தான் கேட்டிருக்காங்க. So you can leave this out. For 37, you have to write this column, this column, this column. For 38, you have to write freely. Okay. So if you study 38, you can easily attempt writing 37th question also. So I will stop with this. So to recap. Okay. Introduction to macroeconomics. Under this, we are seeing the different economic system. The third economic system is mixedism. Okay. The first two we have already seen, capitalism and socialism. So mixedism means we have the private as well as the public. Under that, first I taught you what is mixedism, the countries practicing mixed economy. Then we saw a diagram here which says that mixedism is in between the pure planned economy and pure free market economy. And examples are given. These two are command economy, this is mixed economy, and this is capitalistic economy. Then the features, we have 5 features, 5 merits, and 5 demerits. Apart from that, we saw the comparison of different economic systems. Hope you understood this, girls. Thank you.